Today we're talking about how it looks like when an INFJ is stressed out. Because being stressed out looks differently for an INFJ than it looks for most people. And it's not just the question of, oh, that's how you look like from the outside. It really is a question of what makes you as an INFJ stressed out to begin with. What is it that makes you really question who you are, that makes you wonder what is next, how can I overcome this, that is causing you anxiety? And even more importantly, like once we get into this situation and, we recognize, oh, I'm actually in a stressed situation and, I really don't want this anymore and I'm going to change something about it, then to know how to change it. Because for INFJs, not only does it look differently when you are stressed out, so it comes out in different ways, different situations stress you out than most people, but also the solutions to that problem look differently. So these are the things we're going to talk about today in detail. Remember, if you haven't done this so far, to download the free poster on the INFJ Epic Life formula. And if you want to take it to the next level, then get the INFJ Epic Life audio guide. Everything you need to know you can find in the links in the description. Generally speaking, the INFJ isn't a person who can get rushed. So when it comes to our own pace, this is one of the things we're very much in control of. This is just something that we're born with. It's the way our mind works. Like if you look into socionics, it's even explained further. But the point is that we say at what pace we're going forward. And you can see this when you're, for example, around people who get swept up in other people working a lot, and the INFJ, still does their own thing at their own pace in their own time. Those aren't the typical situations that get us stressed. And those are actually the situations that get most other people stressed. But that doesn't mean that we as INFJs get stressed less or less frequently. It just means that we stress ourselves out in different ways. The way an INFJ is stressed out is when we take on too much. And what I mean with taking on too much, I'm really talking about mental load. We're not talking about, okay, I need to do those 15 things today. That might also be the case, but the thing that really nags at us, the thing that makes us get anxious are if we have so much on our plate and so many open, tasks and things that are important for us in order to move forward that we cannot really see the big picture anymore. So for example, you're moving, you're also finishing something at work, then you have this problem with your family member, then on top of that, you have this course you want to finish, and then you have maybe a house that is cluttered, right? And all of those things are in your mind and things that have to be taken care of. How does that look like? Well, an INFJ who's stressed out like this really lives in the moment. You might say an INFJ who is stressed out, like really, takes themselves out of reality. They're all in their mind. They, are not really connecting with what's going on, but it's actually the opposite. Yes, we might not be able to connect with people because we don't have the mental capacity, but most of the time we're so in the grind, we're so in the this has to get done and this has to get done. And although our mind is, all about like figuring out how to make that happen, we're actually not able to tap into who we truly are. We're not able to tap into our NI, so into our introverted intuition. We cannot make sense of it all because it's all about doing. This has a lot to do with the so-called SE grip. So we're so much in that moment, right? We're leading so much out of our own domain that, we don't even know who we are. And on top of that, we don't know where we're going. And so when you do that, very often we might get lost on our path. And sometimes as INFJs, this can be very dangerous because then you might go down a path that isn't in your best interest. Because then as an INFJ, all you can do is just keep your head in front of you and at that task that is currently going on, and you don't have time to look at the big picture. See, I'm a big fan of, separating those two. I think it's extremely important for INFJs to, get things done in the real world. That's why I'm always saying you as an INFJ need to create externally observable facts or, objectives or, whatever it may be, like goals, things that if you would meet somebody, you could actually tell them about this. This is not just, oh, I figured a lot of stuff out in my mind, I did research, I came to terms with who I am. Those are not externally observable facts. But it is an externally observable fact if you send out 4 applications, if you looked at apartments and you found one and you wrote the landlord and, applied for it, right? Those are externally observable facts. And if you as an INFJ really go overboard with this, right, because you've taken on so much, that's when the INFJ really gets stressed out. And that's when you might go way too far in some directions because you feel if I let go of this, then I'm going to get lost. Like I'm not going to be able to keep up. And if I'm not able to keep up, then I'm losing it, right? The reason for this is because being in the doing all the time is not our natural state. That's not what we're really great at, right? As I said, I'm a fan of getting those things done, but it can't be all you're doing. You really need to have a time of reflection, a time of visioning, a time of knowing what the big picture is, and then have, a separate time where you get stuff done. And you don't do it to such an extent that it really stresses you out. Because, when you continuously do things, you're not doing this because other people are rushing you, but you're doing it because you feel you have those 5 things in your head that need to get done. So how do we get out of that? Well, we have to understand that we need to be able to have a bigger picture. We need to have the space, the mental space and time to make those things clear to us, because then we can only decide, oh, I actually shouldn't be spending all my time on this. And this might be not that important right now. I need to focus on other things. So one of the easiest ways to, get around this is to start delegating. And you might say, okay, but these are my tasks. How can I start delegating? Well, the one thing we have to understand as INFJs is that we tend to do way too much for other people. We tend to do their tasks. So if you're, for example, living with somebody, you're probably taking on more than half of the share of work. If you're working with somebody, you might be taking on, some emotional responsibilities because you feel this is on me. I have to be the one who creates this positive environment. I have to be the one who gets certain things done because we want to make it easy for the other person. And we think if I would give them that task, I would just be asking too much. Like, that's not even fair to them. Like, that doesn't make them feel good. I'm expecting too much of them. But what we fail to understand, and this is something that I to this day, experience very often, is we're so much more aware of, how certain actions would make other people feel than how they would make us feel. We're okay with taking on 70% of the work in a relationship, not just, the connection wise, but whatever it may be, the responsibility of it, being the one who's the responsible one, being the one who keeps this thing alive and makes a lot of things happen. And we think that's okay because this is how it's always worked. And if we would shift that dynamic, we are afraid of what that might make us feel like. We might feel, okay, if I expect that of them, then they're not going to like me. If I expect that of them, then I'm making their life hard and they're not going to be as appreciative of me. So we really have to come to terms with this is one of our biggest challenges, and it's also one of those areas that will make the biggest difference. If you are in any kind of situation where you're doing more than you should, then it's time for you to start delegating or giving up responsibility for certain things, knowing very well that every single time you do that, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Practice it. Like, do it as much as you possibly can. And I promise you, in most cases, if you ask yourself, are they doing more than me? The question will be no. Right? So there's always more that you could delegate to other people, make them be responsible for, or if it's something that they are really not able to do, to, back off a little bit and say, in this situation, if we're a partnership in any kind of way, so let's say a coworker, a team member that you're working with, and if it's a situation where everything should be equally divided, then rather do less and then be at the same level as the other person than to continuously keep on overdoing it. Because the thing that we need is mental space. The thing that we need to do is to remove mental load. And so this is the first thing to do when you have a lot of things open like this. And then to think, how can I declutter a certain situation, make it easier on myself? Is there a way to take more burden off of me? Very often we think, okay, I have like 8 hours in this day, I have 10 hours, I can get this done. But we fail to understand how much space, and I'm really talking about mental space, we as INFJs need in order for us not to be stressed out. Because only when you're not stressed out, you can take a step back and really let your genius shine, which is to be able to oversee the entire situation, to see where you're headed, to see what your next move is. And according to that, adapt all the steps you need to do in the real world. So we have to find a great balance between those two, but it's never going to happen if you continuously are doing so much, are stressed out so much, have so many things going on in your mind that you don't have enough time to recognize where you're going and how these different parts actually play a part in where you want to go. Sometimes we need to stretch them in time to say, okay, I don't need to get them done by Friday, I'm going to get it done by the end of next month. But therefore, I still have this, space that allows me to think further. So when you're stressed out as an INFJ, that is the main thing we need to focus on. We need to get those things off our plate ASAP. Because it's not something that we can handle for a long time. We're not acting in our best interest, and we're probably doing way too much work that is not even leading us to where we're supposed to go, because we're not even aware of where we're supposed to be going, right? Because we just don't have the mental space, and it's empty space that we need. We need empty space so we can create something new. We can create like the next idea, the next place to go, the next thing to do, where our life is headed. For other types, this might not be such a problem because their strength also lies in the fact of, okay, I'm getting so much stuff done. Our strength lies in a different direction. Our biggest strength lies in the fact that we're visionaries, lies in the fact that we can, take a step back, see the entire situation, see where we're going, and then, decide the steps we need to do to get there. Remember, if you want some more guidelines into making sure that you're taking the right actions and not the ones that are just keeping you busy, then check out the free poster on the INFJ Epic Life Formula. And if you want to find out how these things work in detail so you can apply them in your life starting today, then get the INFJ Epic Life audio guide. Everything you need to know you can find in the links in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video, The 5 Surprising Things All INFJs Do That Nobody Talks About.